channel is sponsored by Great Bay Outfitters. Great Bay Outfitters is a waterfront kayak shop located near Great Bay. They are New Jersey's #1 volume dealer of Old Town kayaks. Great Bay Outfitters specializes in fishing kayaks and offers demos, rentals, repair, rigging, and a full assortment of PFDs, dry suits, motors, paddles, and accessories from many major brands.
What is up, everybody? Today, mid-July, 101 currently, feels like 110. We are in another heat wave. I believe today's 4th day this summer that's exceeded 100 degrees in New Jersey. There's a nice little breeze, so I figured let's send it and let's kind of switch it up a little bit. Been doing a ton of sheep's head fishing recently. Want to target something that I could take home and put on the table, so stay tuned. I'll show you what we're targeting. So I'm going to start out with a drop shot rig. They're size 1 hooks, and I'm going to start with Gulp Alive minnows. Start with chartreuse. I packed a more natural looking color, but with the water being very brown, my first thought was go with something bright. Saltwater panfish do not care what color it is, they just want food, and hopefully we're going to put these in front of them. I've been seeing some marks as I stopped. Now what I'm going to try and do is set up deep and then kind of drift shallow. It seems like the fish are more condensed in groups off these like ledges. So like you see right there, I'm gonna drop it down. Some solid marks right there. Just gotta hope we don't really exceed the panfish. Oh wow, that was quick. Panfish today, because look at that. Look how quick that is. This rod is not built for big fish. That's perfect start right there. That's what we're looking for, croakers. Now granted, that guy's a little small. He's probably like 10, 11 inches maybe. We're gonna be very specific today. We're gonna keep anything 13, maybe 14 inches or bigger. That way we don't gotta spend hours filleting. I do think they are very undervalued fish. You know, those like 14, 15 inch class fish fillet easy, and I turn them into fish cakes. So like, to me, if I use flounder, striper, or croaker, it all tastes the same in my eyes. And I'm fishing like a sustainable species that, you know, there's so many of them around that it won't hurt for me to keep a few. All right, let's try this drift. I took a test drift. Now I'm like just adjusting my overall setup with the wind. But what always boggles my mind is the number of people that would rather, you know, target a species that they might not be able to take home and then complain, sea bass, that, you know, they have nothing to take home, when there's species like croaker out there. I'll be honest, the big drawback for most people is their rib cage, like the pin bones. But if you're keeping like the larger ones, they're a lot easier to kind of get out, where you're not spending hours like pulling bones out of a fillet. And like flavor wise, I think they taste great. Another underrated species. Whoa son, that's a croaker. And on light tackle, dude, this thing feels like, this is like sheep's head fishing from light tackle. Got the ultralight. Oh, doubles. Let's go. Son, look at that. And there's guys, which blows my mind, that are just out drifting in the bay for flounder right now. Maybe catching a couple shorts here and there. When you have this fishery, that one we're probably gonna keep. He's definitely big enough. Now what I think is happening is, on these ledges, the fish have temporary relief from like a screaming tide. Like right now it's an outgoing tide. it doesn't matter in my eyes what tide you fish for these guys, because they're feeding constantly, especially when the water's super warm. I've had great success on an incoming, I've had great success on an outgoing. Ooh, I just missed a hit there. But I do think they're using these ledges to get that relief from all that current, and also feeding on like the grass shrimp, minnows, crustaceans that are getting washed with the tide, that are too, you know, small to kind of fight the tide, if that makes sense. The other day I kept a handful of croakers, and when I was filleting them, they all had like really tiny mud crabs, blue claws, you know, juvenile mama chugs like minnows. They're very opportunistic feeders. They're not picky. And I'll be honest, like if you're taking kids out fishing this time of year, the nice thing is there's no delay. Like the only time I seem to not really catch as many is like the switch of a tide, like that slack period. But even then, the other day I had my daughter out, and she was mugging them even when the tide stopped moving. So I would say the bite was definitely better on the movement of the tide. But all right, let's try the Mr. Crappie Slabalicious, see if unscented lures will work just as good. These are what I'm using. They're like 2-inch, and monkey shine is the color. It's like a chartreuse with white with like blue fleck. Yeah, it don't matter. Son, look at that. These fish, anybody that tells you you need gulp or you need fish bites, they're lying to you. Maybe sometimes out of the year, or certain times out of the year, you need that, but fish like this, they don't care. A little too small. Another cookie cutter 10-incher. I like these little crappie jigs because they're super durable. Like, unless we hook into something with teeth, like these guys aren't gonna A, bite the tails off, or B, you know, rip them in half, which makes life easy when you just drop it back down and just jig it slowly for another bite. All right, let's drop it right here. I'll tell you what, I almost debated not coming out today. I tell you, sometimes you just got to go against the grain. I got work in like an hour, so I kind of have a short amount of time to really catch what I want to catch. But I'll never understand the people that don't fish because of temperature. Like in the winter time when it gets extremely cold, or this time of year when it gets extremely hot. I mean, the fish, there's always fish feeding. Even in the winter, dead of winter here, you could find white perch, crappie, yellow perch, you know what I mean? Something, oh son, that might be 2. Like today, I could have been sitting on my couch for an hour wasting time. It's a little bit of a, that's a keeper. That one's about 14. And see, look, free meal. Didn't cost me nothing to put the kayak in the water. Yeah, that's a good one. All right, let's try up here a little bit. So far, we got a couple fish in the back cooler. I'd say probably like 6 or 7 will be enough for, you know, fish cakes for the fam. I only really need like 1 to 2 pounds of meat to really make something of it. There's a fish, little sea bass, I think. Maybe not. Felt like a sea bass hit. like little sea bass, but I think now it might be a croaker. Oh yeah, look at that. Keep that guy. Before I get going, I want to try some fish bites on a shad dart. I feel like that would be a cool way to catch them. Just a little, you know, your prototypical shad dart with a little bit of fish bites on it. Let's see if we can't get something hungry enough to eat on it. Now with this, I'm gonna have to cast a little bit further up. Tighten that drag a tad bit, because this is a much lighter jig than the weight we were using on the drop shot. And we're not fishing super deep, but with the amount of tide we have, if I dropped it straight down from where I, you know, sitting, it'd end up, you know, 20 feet behind the kayak. Ooh, there was a hit, but I felt like it didn't feel really good. Felt more like a sea bass, little sea bass. Casting some fish now. Oh, had him and missed him. Growing up, man, this used to be my favorite method of catching, oh son, perch. Just a little shad dart in a minnow. I'll tell you, that's way too loose. This is actually a nicer sized croaker, I think. Oh yeah. Oh, look at that. That's a hoss. Son, look at that guy. That's, you know, not a... Growing up, we had these things called Cape May specials, man. There's as long as your arm. I'm hoping one day they come back to the coast. Now, I'm probably dating myself, man, but when I was a kid, every October we'd ride our bikes down to where the clam boats used to come in Atlantic City, and for $5 they'd fill up a 5-gallon bucket for you. And every October, man, we would get this insane run of what I would call Cape May specials, like large, extra large croakers. It almost like felt like they were like baby drum. I mean, we would just catch them until the sun went down. Granted, I haven't really fished like that style of fishing in a long time, but from what I hear from other people that still do, the fishing hasn't been what it had been back in the 90s and the early 2000s. But I feel like that's any fishing, honestly. You think about all the advancement in technology and number of people on the water. You know, I feel like a lot of different fisheries this way have kind of been overpressured. That's why we're going after these guys. There's a fish. Let's go, son. Tell you what, on light tackle like this, ton of fun. High-low rig, still fun, not as much, because you're fighting the weight of the sinker. For this, it's just as light tackle as it gets. Let him go, he's a little small. Ooh, falling asleep at the wheel there. It felt like a decent hit. bass. You'd always tell the croakers are more of a substantial hit. The sea bass back here right now are like this big, and it's just like a million little taps. I usually try and just kind of lift up slightly to kind of pull it away from them when I feel them. But you know, not every time are you going to get it away from them. But it goes back to my point of how durable the fish bites are. The one thing I would say, the one drawback with fish bites is if you don't cut it off your hook, you need scissors to kind of cut it off most of the time, especially the mesh. But if you don't cut it off, you know, within a few hours of that trip, it like gets rock hard and kind of ruins the hook. All right, probably be my last drift. I got to get going, get in for work, drop the kayak home. Ooh, see if we can't pick up a few more fish like this one. I say last drift and then I end up probably pushing it. Okay, that's a good one. We'll keep that one. Good eating size. That current just swept this. This is probably my last stop with this. Just way too much current for this later tackle stuff. Oh, son. Oh, no. Missed him. Drop it back down. That is a good thing, too, with fish bites. If you miss the hit, I know that I still got bait on the hook. One more fish. I think one more fish would suffice for dinner, and I think that's it right there. That's gonna be our 1 to 2 pounds of meat right there.